I'm Thomas Hare, the Chief Content Officer of the PDMI, and we're thrilled to be here again at PDMI East. We thank our sponsors, we thank the hotel, we thank our speakers, and all of you attendees for being here. Most importantly, when we are here in the education room, we thank our education sponsor, and that is, of course, Pacific Media Technologies, PMT. They have a video to share with us, a brief video.
I started PMT to apply the principles that I learned in the live television business to the DR delivery business. What makes PMT different is our people and their dedication to this industry. Quality is the key to what we do, and as the DR business changes, we'll be changing with it and we'll be ahead of the game.
Pacific Media Technologies. Technology driven, quality guaranteed.
And thank you to PMT once again. We have a great conversation planned for you this afternoon. We have Matt Timothy from Blockboard and Rafael Revilla from Marcus Thomas, and they've put together a really interesting conversation about digital and CTV. No, set it and forget it here is the title of this one. So
Amen.
Take it away.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Tom. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
There we go. All right, little energy. I know we're all hungover, but first of all, I love following a pre-roll. I think that's kind of an awesome way to start a panel, is have a roll before it. So my name is Matt Timothy. I'm the head of customer success for Blockboard. And with me, very honored to have with me Rafael Revilla, the chief media strategist? Or
Chief Media Officer.
Chief Media Officer, sorry. Chief Media Officer from Marcus Thomas. And he's going to explain what they do at Marcus Thomas in a second. But I want to tee this up this way. We titled this as the set it and forget, or not to set it and forget it, because originally the thought here was programmatic is 20 years old. A lot of people are ultra reliant on it, and they kind of set it and forget it. But I realized that this is really about CTV. We're a programmatic CTV player. That's the one plug I'll make this whole time. And it's really the rise of CTV that is going to force a lot of changes going forward. And I'll give you this example. In 1903, there was the first flight. The Wright brothers got in the air in 1903. 66 years later, in one lifetime, we were on the moon. So the rate of change that happens is exponential, and it compounds. And CTV represents that kind of catalytic change. And where it is today does not necessarily represent where it's going to be tomorrow, but it is a very, very powerful medium, or reinvention of television, if you will, because now you can target. It's the biggest digital screen in someone's life, right? It has a history of storytelling. It's only a storytelling device and nothing else. This has 10,000 uses, right? So as a storytelling device and as a targetable storytelling device and the biggest screen in a customer's lives, its ability to tell a story, to plant a seed, to motivate an action, we've just begun to tap the potential of this, because you're dealing now not in mass audiences, but you're dealing in one-to-one, right? And we just think that this is the way that the evolution of television really starts with CTV. So why I am honored to be on this stage with Rafael, Marcus Thomas plays all sides of the equation here, from a performance side, from a branding side, from a creative side, from a PR side. They touch a lot of different things. And having worked with Rafael and Marcus Thomas over the past couple of years, have come to appreciate their singular vision, their commitment to the client, to the commitment to what's right for the client first. They don't put the agency in front of the client. I'm doing your whole pitch here.
Oh my gosh, I don't have to say anything.
So with that, I'll just introduce Rafael. And if you want to give a little bit of background on where you've come from and what Marcus Thomas's philosophy is.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start in San Francisco in 1997. So I started at a digital agency there. It was called Mediaplex. It's now Conversant, so it's still around. We were like a DoubleClick, if you think about it, kind of figuring out how to track and serve ads. And then we ended up starting a media department, and the media department's where I started at Mediaplex. Fast forward 7 years later, and I was in a direct response agency in Atlanta called Bennett, Kuhn & Varner. So that's really where I learned DR. We were doing a lot of DRTV, a lot of search, a lot of performance marketing, a lot of analytics, and a lot of test and learns. And so I loved that, but I felt like what was missing, because we were trying to just sell right away, was really understanding the human journey, understanding the value exchange between the brand, the environment that the brand's playing in, and the human that's interacting with that brand just at a certain point in the human journey. And that's where Marcus Thomas came in. So when I joined, I was like, oh my God, they think idea first. They're all about like, how do we break through and bring this big idea to kind of market this product, and how do we understand the human journey, not just the shopper journey, but the whole thing, and how do we get in front of this consumer with this brand with a value even before they're thinking about buying, and then when they're thinking about buying, and then when they're after buying. And I was like, okay, well, this is gonna be awesome because I'll bring the measurement and I'll bring the test and learn and all of that into this idea-centric agency. So yeah, we are very, we're non-siloed also, we're fully integrated, and the media department's also an integrated department within an integrated agency. So we buy we call it TV everywhere. It doesn't matter what screen it's on. It could be on linear, it can be connected, it can be on your phone, etc. Our teams are cross-trained across traditional and digital, and we actually move money and track everything across traditional and digital. So we really have a good view into how do you invest and how do you optimize that investment on a video everywhere kind of strategy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait to dive into this. So before I ask my first question to him, there's going to be some audience participation in this, and I'm giving you the heads up right now. At the end of this session, I'm going to ask Ralph, the last question I'm going to ask him is, if you had a superpower or a magic wand, what would be the one thing that you would change in this industry today to make it better? What is the one thing that you would change today, right, to make it better? I'm asking you guys that same question. There's a sheet of paper in front of you. There's a pencil. I'd like you to write down an answer to that. And at the end, I'll tell you what we're going to do with them, okay? But I would love it if you gave it some thought during this presentation. So at the end, it's truly audience participation, and I'll explain that mystery at the end. So appreciate it. You mentioned human journey. I love that, right? You didn't use the word user, right? So you're focusing on the customer as a human. You're focusing on what takes them to get to where they're going. How does CTV play into that, into the human journey?
Yeah, so it actually, people think of CTV as maybe an upper funnel, first touch, tactic that starts the journey of a buyer, and gets someone aware. You put that in front of them, and they weren't even thinking about the product, and they're like, okay, I might need this. We really think of CTV as a full funnel channel. You can use it to drive awareness. You can also drive consideration through enhancing your CTV with additional engagement factors. So you can do click to a microsite, you can do a QR code, you can do a lot of enhancements with like a company like Innovid and Brightline that bring your TV spot into a spot that you can engage with now, right? Like you can actually do more with it. You can also use it as a lower funnel tactic, so through QR codes, through shoppable CTV, et cetera. So we really feel like it can do all. It's also, to me, I feel like the first impression and the cleanest impression if you buy it correctly, target it correctly, and then you can use retargeting to kind of sequentially tell that story after that clean first impression. Because if you think about it, you want to fill the funnel. You don't want to just do lower funnel, but you want to fill the funnel with quality. So I think CTV is one of the best channels for doing that if you buy it correctly. Yeah.
Got it. So you're obviously steeped in linear as well.
Yeah.
So when it comes to performance, what are the changes that you see or the adaptations, if you will, right? Moving from linear and a reliance on linear to get a phone to ring to moving towards CTV.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very different. So with linear, we do a lot of direct response television, and so we do try to drive phone calls, but we also use a lot of different tracking tools that allow us to measure the linear TV spot against what happens on the website and actually optimize the placement, the creative, the program based on when that spot airs and what happens to the website. So we're still able to do a lot of those things, but it's a lot cheaper and less targeted, right? So like you're buying it on an index and reach against the user, a consumer target. Whereas with CTV, and you're getting single digits almost if you buy it the right way on linear. So you can spray and then just optimize later, a month later, like look at your channels, see what performed, change your schedule for the next month based on what the last month did, rotate your day parts and creative, all of that. So it's like not really set and forget it, but it's like a month process.
Sure.
Whereas with connected TV, it's more expensive. It's a $30-ish CPM versus a single digit, but it's a lot more targeted, right? So like you have a lot more ways to find that audience, create lookalikes if they go to your website later, do a lot of tracking to see what works, what doesn't work, optimize the schedule in real time almost, especially if you're doing a DSP self-service. You have access to all the apps, you have access to a lot of the data, you have access to how you're rotating the creative, and you're getting all that data in real time, so you can optimize it in real time. So it's a lot more, there's a lot more work to it, but again, you're getting all that data back to you that you can optimize against and not lock into.
What's the education process like with the client when it comes to CTV?
Yeah.
Right? Because our purview is that it's wide ranging, right? That various people are pretty savvy about it. A lot of them aren't. They just assume it's just another version of what they're doing on linear.
Yeah.
So walk us through the kind of education process.
Yeah, it really depends on the client. So one of our largest clients, they're a medical device company, and their marketing team is very, and it's again all about driving leads. Every dollar spent has to equate to a cost per lead for them. So their marketing department, we're lockstep with them. They see us as an extension to their team. They don't want to do the media, but they want to know exactly what we're doing so they can drive us better and also understand exactly if we are optimizing their dollars the way we're supposed to. So the education process was to walk them through the difference between our linear buys and our connected TV buys. They want to know exactly how we're buying it. What's the difference between our self-service buys? How are we optimizing it? What's the inventory versus the managed service buys? Because we're agnostic. We will not only do self-service, we will also work with a managed service, like we work with you guys and others. But we tell them the differences, tell them exactly what can be optimized between what, and then they just ask questions. So it makes it a little bit harder to like say, hey, why this isn't working and what are you doing? But again, they trust you more once you kind of walk them through all that. We've actually even opened up our platforms and said, here is how we optimize. Here's like where your inventory is. Here's the data that we're using to target that individual. And then you have some clients where they don't really, they just like want to see the performance.
Yes.
They're like, how much are you spending? Did you clear the spend? Okay, well, what's the KPI? Did you clear that? Yes. They don't want to know anything else.
I think we're all
So it really depends. But I think other people, I think they're going to start going more towards the, I want to know really what's happening with my dollars, especially with the way the economy might be going, right?
So transparency, it
Yeah.
sounds like, is really important
Yes.
to getting these clients to adopt something that's really brand new.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it's important for us. I mean, like why we love CTV and really doing the self-service and then working with managed service people who allow the transparencies, because we want to know what apps are we running on. We want to know what data are you using. We want to know what's performing. We want to know what safety standards are you using to make sure our ads are running in the right places. We want to know what you're doing to make sure there isn't fraud, which is a big deal in CTV, right? Whereas when we control that, we can give all that information back. So transparency is really important.
Yeah, transparency is key. So CTV's future, right? And the future for clients and future for your agency, how would you describe that? Do you see it increasing exponentially?
It's definitely increasing. I mean, we've been doing CTV, like you said, it's not a new channel. I don't know, I mean, it's just people are talking about it more now, but we've been doing CTV for years. It used to be more of a open exchange, like, gosh, I don't even know what inventory I'm getting, but I am doing CTV and I'm seeing my impressions. Whereas now it's like, okay, I really want to know what we're doing. I want to know what programs I'm on. I don't really care about the vanity metrics that are out there, like impressions and reach and all that. That's important, but we really care about the outcomes. And as we can prove these outcomes and as more people go away from linear and into CTV, we just continue to spend more there. And again, we see it as a channel that's in every media plan right now.
Great.
Like you have to do CTV. You're not reaching certain audiences who are, cord cutters or cord nevers or anyone who isn't on linear. You need to get that full screen like experience to drive that awareness and to even get into the consideration set. You need that. You can't just do digital. Like you said, it's this small. Like you're skimming through things. Like you're not going to feel the impact of the brand.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned data before. So having worked with you and for you, we know that you are data driven. Can you explain what that means in Marcus Thomas parlance?
Yeah, so data-driven is understanding exactly how we translate the personas that are created by our planning group and all the research that they do into a audience that we can actually get in front of. Because again, a lot of times, like they create these personas and we're like, okay, we need to figure out a way to really bring them to life. And so like there's a lot of data out there, whether that's third-party data, there's first-party data that we have from our client side that we can onboard into our connected TV buys. And there's also contextual targeting, so companies like Pier 39, et cetera, allow you to do that. And then there's also ACR chip data. So if you work directly with like a Samsung or any other company that has the ACR chips, there's a lot of data that you can also glean on what shows are driving the most website visits, like if they convert, what other shows are they watching? And I might not be buying those shows. Okay, I should buy them. What's the reach and frequency and duplication in the buys? So we look at all of that, but also look at what happens on the website. So we try a lot of different things to target that front end media, and then a lot of things on the back end to understand exactly who's converting. We have a DMP also, so that helps. So it allows us to kind of look at the first-party data and then understand, because usually first-party is just an email address or a cell phone. It allows us to enrich and understand who that audience is so we can find more people like them. So yeah, lots of data.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So you've got performance clients?
Yeah.
Whose primary, let's call them this. You have clients whose primary KPI is performance. You have other clients whose primary KPI is awareness or the vanity metrics or media metrics that you mentioned before. Are you seeing any shifts, like from our view, we've seen there's in the brand stuff, there's always a secondary performance KPI.
Yeah.
And in a brand buy, that's ignored, right? It's the nice to, I'm simplifying it, but it's nice to have it. If you can kind of get close to that, that's great, but we're measured on the media metrics. Are you seeing a shift more towards performance from brand advertisers?
Yes. Yeah. So one great example there is we have a Krylon as one of our clients, and they don't sell on their website. They're all about driving awareness and consideration for their spray paint, and you have to go to Lowe's or whatever to buy it. And our campaigns are geared towards awareness and consideration. There's a brand tracker that comes out. We hope that at the end of the campaign, the brand tracker shows that we increased certain brand sentiments and questions that we ask. But that has to correlate at the end of the day to sales. Brand doesn't mean anything if you're not driving sales. So what we have done and what we have sold them on is to not rely on cost per click, click-through rates, video completion rates, and all of that. But let's tag the site. Let's tag the site for projects that people download. Let's tag the site for how-tos, and let's tag the site for where to buy. Because again, you want to know where people are buying, video views and all of that. So we lump all of those together into something we optimize against. Again, using a company like a TV Squared, who's owned by Innovid now, you can actually do connected TV and linear and all of that, and track all these things that happen on the website and optimize against them. Because hopefully, like the brand measures will go up if we're optimizing towards the actual, KPIs that happen on the website that really show, a qualified user versus relying on a click-through rate and a cost per click. Because like we can buy cheap clicks all day if we wanted to and increase impressions, but that's again not the goal.
You don't know what you're getting at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
I had a question. I completely forgot it. It was a brilliant one too. It was going to light up the room. So, for performance advertisers, I think it's a pretty big gap between what they experience in linear and what's emerging in CTV, right? How do you see the industry kind of closing that gap?
Yeah, I think it's, well, first of all, connected TV really clears shorter spot lengths.
True.
So like we have a lot of performance clients that look at linear and their 60s work so well, their 120s work really well, 30s work, 15s not really. And then you move them into connected TV and there's no such thing as a 120. 60s don't clear as well. There's a lot of 15s. 15s perform really well at driving traffic to a website. Again, we have that tracking that tells us that. By the way, I mean, if you're working with any CTV vendors, ask them to put a pixel on your site, and that allows them to actually optimize towards what happens on the website, not just impressions and reach and those vanity metrics. But anyways, it's trying to figure out a new way for having the spot convert. You're like not expecting to drive phone calls, not expecting to drive a direct sale, but is there a way for us to like add a QR code? Is there a way for us to add like, a one click, like Hulu, for example, you're signed in, you can roll your spot and then you can say, hey, I want to know more about this, click your remote control, and then since you're signed in, right away an email goes to your inbox. We program a Salesforce journey for that specific spot, and then that Salesforce CRM journey sells them, and then we get all the data behind it. So not expecting them to convert right away, giving them other ways to kind of connect with a brand, and then getting them into your system so you can retarget them, is a good way to do it. I wouldn't think of CTV as the first and only impression to expect a conversion on. Again, it's a really clean upper funnel tactic, but you can also drive sales and conversions from it. But you should really think of the journey after that spot. Like you can sequentially tell a story after someone sees a CTV spot. If they've seen this, serve them something next. If you want to serve it in another, like serve it on their phone, serve it on their phone, and then what experience do you want them to have in their phone versus on their laptop? There's a lot of things you can do to kind of put value against that initial impression. Yeah.
Do you guys consider lifetime value of the customer?
We do, especially for hardcore DR clients where, they know what their lifetime value is. We love clients like that. You'll be surprised at some clients who don't know what their LTV is, and you're like, how am I supposed to value what I'm doing if you don't know what your LTV is? But if they do, and you can back into what your conversion rates, your CPMs, and all of that are, you can say, hey, you know what? If your lifetime value is 3,000 and I can get it for 1,000 or 600, then you're still making money. Sure. So I think it's an educated process of asking for it, really asking for it, and then showing them how you get to that with your media.
Yeah. Does your position on CTV or your POV on CTV, does that help you land a new business? I know you've been on a kind of a new business.
Yeah, it does. Lately. It does. And again, because we believe in a TV everywhere approach and that we are not siloed, we don't have a TV team with TV dollars. We don't have a connected TV team with their own dollars. It's one budget for one goal. And so we have SMEs again, and they all manage their budgets daily against an algorithm if there is one, or manually if they have to, but we meet weekly and we move those dollars across all channels. And then our TV people, more than half of them are also doing CTV. They want to learn it. So, I find it that the digital people don't want to learn linear as much, yes. But the linear people want to learn CTV. And so we give them those chances to do it. And we're using a TV squared, that person can see unduplicated reach, unduplicated website actions, and then make their decisions on their buys. And TV buyers love data, so they've been trained on it. So it's almost like giving them the digital data that they weren't used to seeing is super cool to them.
That's great. And it's great to hear that it's a contributor to the new business wins that you've had lately. Right now, I would imagine that linear DR is fairly affordable, right? There's certainly inventory available.
Oh yeah, there is.
I used to be a desperate sales manager on the linear side, so I understand this. How much longer will that exist in your mind?
Oh God, I hope
a
it
tough one.
lasts because linear. I mean,
Yeah, it's
linear is
so
you
efficient.
get that live viewing, you get like all that traffic to the website all at once. You got like cheap CPMs and all that. But yeah, you see it. It'll eventually, I guess, go right. I mean, more people are. You see CTV continue to rise, and then kind of.
Yeah.
I think linear's plateaued. Maybe it goes down a little bit, but CTV continues to rise.
Well, I think on eMarketer,
They've seen linear drop too, right?
yeah, the paths have crossed actually. That there's more streaming households now than pay TV.
And that makes sense because a lot of the IDUs that we get when we don't clear, they usually push them into streaming. But again, I think the like live viewing on CTV, if we can get more of that, if we can get more live, like like live sports or any live big shows, we'll get that same like mass audience all at once that we get on live linear, which is so important. But on the CTV side, again, it's like optimizing one impression, one user at a time
Got it.
versus mass reach.
So, is it safe to ignore it today if you're a performance
Ignore which?
Ignore CTV and just
No, not at all. It's a different audience. It's a
So it's
completely different
incremental.
audience. Yeah. Plus, you can, if you look at your traffic and you say, hey, you know what? I'm missing out on this age demo. You can target that age demo on connected TV and find more people within that age demo. But you are missing a lot of people if you're not doing connected TV and just relying on linear.
So are you finding different performance results based on the ages of folks?
Yeah, we are.
So
We are, and then we change our messaging based on that too. So we have like a Medicare offer, and we have like some other offers based on if you're like a boomer versus if you're like a single young. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do on connected TV to kind of, even if you wanted to have one spot, but change dynamically some of the calls to action and the messaging. You can work with companies that dynamically overlay things and then target that by age. And then you're having higher response rates because of that automatically.
and how much does frequency play a role here in?
Oh, that's the best question of the day. If we can control frequency, like that would be a game changer. We have tools that allow us to do that. Or you buy through one DSP and then you pipe in your deal IDs directly into that DSP. So like you get really good inventory when you buy direct. You can also lower your CPMs, but then you pipe them into your DSP and then you start looking at the frequency at that level. But if you're buying from so many different places, the frequency can be all over the place and you're just wasting dollars. So you gotta just do it the right way, have the right measurement tools in place. You can have a purview into that frequency level.
So then, how does frequency fold into the human journey as you've described it, right? I would imagine it's different by different clients, different KPIs, different things. So
Yeah.
Are there general rules of thumb that you've learned
It
so far?
Well,
that
it
you can
depends on the
share?
product, and it depends on like the selling cycle of how long it takes someone to decide on one thing and the amount of content you bring. So what we like doing is we like understanding the journey and the barriers, and like the content we have to create to move that person from awareness to consideration. So like maybe they see an awareness ad. If they convert, remove them. But if they don't, serve them an ad again. How many times do we want to serve them this ad? If they convert, remove them. If they don't, what do we want to do here? So it takes, you want to analyze it, and then you want to use your platforms to control the frequency for each of the ads across the funnel.
Sure.
So, but it really depends.
Yeah.
It depends on, and then you can analyze it too, right? So
Yeah.
like you run it and then see what the best optimal frequency is, but it really depends.
Got it.
Yeah.
Frequency is, it's underthought on linear television, and it's overthought in
And
digital.
CTV, yeah.
Right? It's something to be managed. It's something to be capped, right? I'll just speak for Blockboard. We think frequency needs to be harnessed, right? Not managed, not capped, not to be afraid of. I'm a sales guy. If I have a frequency of 5 with any of you guys, right?
You're making
And I come in on the second meeting, and I give you the same pitch verbatim, the same way, the same deck, you're going to throw me out, and I'll never get the other 3 frequencies. So I think I'm riffing off of what you said, but we have to learn with every exposure, right? That's why I think one of the really critical points that Ralph brought out is performance in the CTV world has a combination of awareness and performance, right? In linear DR, it's great because it's cheap. You can get it out there. You can hit 1,000, 5,000 people all at once. A certain percentage will be motivated to call, and it's awesome. But here, frequency, you really got to think through. You also mentioned sequential messaging,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So explain that a little further, because I think that ties into the frequency.
Yeah, so you can literally retarget one impression at a time. So for some of our clients, we have this big brand connected TV ad, and then we're like, okay, if we want to now know who you are you this part of this audience segment? If you are, serve them this next CTV ad. So you can sequentially serve connected TV ads going, again, from upper funnel to consideration, and if they don't convert, to an offer-centric CTV ad. So you can definitely do that. You can also orchestrate that story not only on CTV, but CTV to other channels, right?
Right, but the way we work together is
CTV to OLV.
All the first, all the first impressions, like you said, they're cleanest, they're awareness.
Yeah.
And those folks that see the ad 97% of the time, that's roughly 27 and a half seconds of a 30-second ad, they go into a qualified viewer pool that then Raf and his team will retarget against on actionable devices, digital devices that you manipulate with your hand. Because remember, the CTV screen is the only screen in our life that we don't manipulate by touch, right? We sit at a remove from it and do this with it. So to get a pure action, when we harness frequency and then target reminder ads or call to action ads to someone who's been exposed on CTV, then we start seeing results, right?
Right.
So that's what.
Yeah, and the blockchain technology you guys use to kind of really true up what that user is as a human and what the real frequency is, I think is one of the things that we've seen, again, as a key performance capability that you guys have.
I appreciate that.
Works pretty good.
Thank you. What question am I not asking you that's really important?
I guess the question about like what.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask Raf now about his superpower, right? And after his answer, here's what we're gonna do. Everyone who's written their answer as to what your superpower or what effect you would have if you had that magic wand or a superpower on this marketplace, on your marketplace, if you could make that one change, what would it be to make it better? Raf's going to answer that. Then what I'm going to ask you guys to do, I'll tell you what we're going to do right after. So if you had that magic wand, right? That magic wand, you could change something. What is it? What would be the one thing you think would just unleash this industry right now?
Yeah, to me, it would be one shared ID across everything that everyone uses, a common shared ID with a common currency.
And so what's the current state of play with that?
Oh my God, there is
All over the map.
all over the place.
So how much overhead does that in the day-to-days of your team? How much extra work? How much of a...
Yeah, I mean, we all know, there's no silver bullet, that's the thing. Everyone's trying their own thing to figure out exactly what they should do for identity resolution and tracking and attribution. And it's all like, everyone's doing their own thing. There isn't one solution. So we've already gone through probably 2 or 3 different solutions in the last couple of years. So it is a lot of work. And now we're looking at incrementality as the way, because again, if you think about attribution and not being able to tie a user across all the devices one impression at a time, because they might be on a cookieless browser, they might be removing their cookies, and you're making these decisions on attribution that way, that could be wrong. So incrementality is where we're at right now, but again, using a lot of the APIs that walled gardens have, like third-party ad serving, which does modeled conversions based on who they can track. Like, it is a lot of work.
Well, before I get to this, you just brought something up. So do you see a consolidation in all of that? It takes six companies to put a digital buy together, from an ad server to data provider to brand safety, all this stuff. Do you see that consolidating?
It would be so cool if it did. Okay. Like, I don't know why there isn't a CDP or a DMP or a third-party ad. I don't know why there's not just one.
Yeah.
Right? You're always having to connect different things into a tech stack, and and they all don't talk, and then you lose the data. Then you have your single source of truth that might be your Salesforce data, and Salesforce doesn't serve the ad, so they lose all the view through convert, so things aren't talking as cleanly as they should.
Yeah.
So if there would be one company that could just do it all, that would be perfect.
All right, that's what Blockboard's trying to do, just for if anyone's taking notes. All right, here's what we're going to do. I hope everyone has written something down, all right? And I'm going to ask you all to stand up, and I'll tell you what we're going to do, all right? If you stand up and you take that piece of paper that you've written your answer on, crumple it into a ball. Nice and tight, because you're going to be throwing this.
Do I move?
No,
No,
we'll just get out of the way of these things. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. This is going to tee up the Q&A session. Once it's all crumpled up nice and tight in your hands and you've written it down, I see people late to their homework. You are my peeps, writing it at the last minute. Here's what we're going to do. I want you, all of you, from where you're standing, to throw those at us. Actually, try to get them to land in one of these chairs.
One of the four?
Here's why. Before, you know what? You're going to get a second chance. Here's why. We are going to take the ones that hit the target and open them up, and we're going to talk about them. Those that don't hit the target, you've missed the target. It's like your ad missing the person that you're supposed to reach, right? So it's not going to get read. So give yourself, take good aim, warm up the arm, and 1, 2, 3, let it fly. Oh, there's one.
There's one.
More. Try it again. We got to get one more up there.
There's one for sure.
All right.
Oh, man, that...
All right, one more shot.
Yeah.
One more shot.
There's two.
All right, we got 2, 3. Look at him coming up. What he did, he got closer to the customer. That's getting closer to the customer. I don't even know if that was mine. It doesn't matter at this point. All right. So one of you, cross-channel aligned currency. So currencies. Raf, do you have anything to say about currencies?
Yeah, again, I wish we just had one. One currency and, the right tools to measure it, and cross-channel for sure.
So who asked that question? Oh, now we're shocked.
Oh, shoot.
No one's going to say it. You're right. I'm sorry. I lied. So what's the challenge to that, right? Because you've got so many different flavors of outlets.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Nielsen, they were like, okay, we have Nielsen 1, it's going to be the game changer. Then I believe it was NBCU who put out that RFP for finding the right currency. And then there was they put out, and there was so many people that submitted, and then they settled on, I think, iSpot. And then it's either iSpot or Video Amp. So I don't know, right? What do you do? But then again, that's where you look at non-vanity metrics and look at what happens on the website and optimize towards.
So back to performance.
Yeah.
Behavior
Back to
and
performance,
not media metrics.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What does yours say?
All right. Hope I didn't crumple the thing. Better dynamic creative.
Ooh, that's a great one.
Completely agree on that one too.
You talked about dynamic, some dynamic overlays, I
Yes.
guess, right?
Yes.
So you've obviously gone down that road, but dynamic creative, literally assembling the entire spot, is that on the radar down the road, or?
That could be really cool, and that's where you might bring an AI/machine learning thing to place. But yeah, dynamic creative, even on a regular basis, is happening across channels better than others. Social is so hard to do that, and you're still creating multiple ad groups and trying to fake your dynamic creative that way. But dynamic creative for sure. How do you create one asset and then let that asset change based on the user and where they are in the journey and what they've done on the website, stuff like that. Super cool.
Excellent question. Certainly when it comes to, you were talking about sequential before, right? So with dynamic creative, that makes that easier. And that's
It's
easier,
sure you
but
write
more
rules.
powerful because
Yeah.
you're learning
Yeah.
from the client's response.
But building the actual spot with all the different things and telling that story in a dynamic way would be a game
That's awesome.
changer, I think. People are trying to do it, but yeah,
It'll get there.
it'll get there.
Better response / interest signaling native to the. I'm sorry, I read this wrong. Better response / interest signaling native to the device. So I'm going to interpret that as a consistent quality of feedback from the individual devices. Does that sound about right?
I think so.
All right. Do you agree?
Yeah.
That that's an issue?
Yeah, learning and getting data from each device based on what someone's doing on it and the ads you're serving would be really great.
Awesome. Did that one hit too?
This one's done. I think that one might not have been run
All right,
yet, but
last
it
one,
might
then
be,
we'll
I
open
don't
up for questions. You guys buying any of this? Is this working, or is this
Yeah.
just,
Is it
just
informative?
silliness? One measurement tool that is accepted, reliable, and trustworthy.
Yeah, that's
We can't
we
even
agree.
comment on that because that's
Yeah.
absolutely spot on. That's what we all need, is we're all fighting for. I can tell you this. This is our third PDMI for Blockboard. We're huge fans of this organization and the people that are in it. We go to the other kind of the IAB stuff and all those other ones, and they talk about this stuff and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, right? There's not a doer in the place. And what I love about performance marketers is that they're doers. It's existential. It sells or you don't have a client anymore, right? And to us, that's the future of television. And I mentioned before that I'm a former sales manager on the linear side, and I'll be brutally honest. I looked at DR in the beginning with disdain because it wasn't high price and I had to take it to fill my inventory. And it wasn't until I got one client that I realized, there's one particular client who was negotiating, that he knew more about what worked on my air than I did, or anybody in my station, right? He was an expert at using my signal to sell stuff, and I had no idea how he did it. And that was the eye-opener for me, because that's when I realized that performance is going to be the ultimate KPI, the ultimate measurement. I call them media metrics. I'm going to steal your stuff about vanity metrics, because that's what they are at the end of the day. They're proxies, right? At the end, the pure currency is going to be performance, hands down. And so whether we realize it or not, but performance marketers are going to lead the change in television and television measurement going forward. So this is an excellent question.
Awesome.
With that, we'll open up. Are there any additional questions for Raf or myself or anything you want?
This is not a loaded question, but I do work for Blockboard. But my question, I've been here for three PDMIs. This is my third one. I came here a year ago. And the one theme, the question I ask, to talk about CTV, I get back from everyone else who's talking to me is, what is the ROI I'm going to see on CTV? What is my ROI? What am I going to get right away when I have a CTV buy with you? For me, seems like an impossible answer up front. But do you get those questions from your clients?
No, I mean, again, we judge everything, especially for our direct response clients, to a target cost per whatever, and we put CTV up on the same playing field as TV and as all our other channels. So you can get more volume out of one out of the other, but you're managing all of that towards a KPI, whatever that cost per lead is. So that's the way we judge it. It's based on the cost per, not a CPM.
What are the CPA goals on linear they're trying to replicate on CTV?
We try to. We try to.
And do
Yeah.
you see consistencies there in your
We're very close based on what we're doing to get a $30-ish CPM to perform at the same level as a $6 to $7 CPM. So again, it's the right optimization, the right data, and like really looking at everything and getting it down to that level. Again, there's more work, but it's an audience you're not hitting if you're only relying on linear.
Do you find differences in the tactics? So our impression is that phone calls work a lot better on linear TV.
Yeah.
And then QR codes, click now to
Click to lead.
click to lead, click to buy.
Yeah,
that kind of-
SMS to text,
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, phones don't work. We've been doing a lot of testing on CTV. It's really hard to get someone a call. It's a different mentality. And again, the spots are a lot shorter on CTV. I mean, the spots that clear are a lot shorter on CTV. So we're not getting the calls. Even when we've implemented phone numbers on all of our CTV spots, we don't see the calls that we see on our linear. So you got to treat that conversion, give them a different way to convert.
Got it. Like it.
Question for Raphael.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the messages that we've been testing recently that seems to be well received, but we have limited evidence for it. That's why I'm asking you this question with performance marketers is when you activate on CTV, one thing that will happen is that you will see an increase in the performance of your existing programmatic and display and social campaigns, right? Because I mean, it's the same effect
Yeah.
that you would get on TV. You're getting better awareness, you're getting emotional engagement, you're getting that kind of lean
Yeah.
back
Yes.
experience. Do you find that to be true broadly across your clients, and is that a message that resonates with your clients?
It's a message that totally resonates, and that's why we like buying things all in one place. So that way you can see the impact of launching that CTV ad and what it does to your display, what it does to your mobile, what it does to, and then you can tie that conversion attribution a lot easier. So yeah, definitely, and it works on almost all clients that we do that for. Yeah,
That's a great question.
yeah.
Any
You've
other
raised the bar,
questions?
man. You've raised the bar on the questions. I think you
Get it all in one
intimidated the
place
rest
so
of
you
the
can
crowd.
see that attribution and you can see the lift that happens. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else? Well, thank you. Let's have a round of applause for the guys.